Hi, and a very warm welcome to Wellbeing Wisdom. It's a fresh new week. It's a cloudy day. It's a delightful -3, and we are expecting more snow. The temperature's going to fall to about -16 later today, but that's just the vagaries of the weather. The good thing is, though, that you and I have far more control over how we think and feel than we might imagine. I was listening to a fascinating documentary about the nature of time. What has time got to do with it? Well, we're taught that time just moves in one direction. That makes life a lot more convenient. And now physicists are trying to understand the difference between the past and the future and the present moment. There are some perhaps counterintuitive traditions that teach us that time is really a function of the mind. Now, we've got so many instruments for measuring time that we all assume, quite logically, that it has a very precise and easily measured function. We can check time from one moment to the next. But at a deeper level, our recollection of how the past works, our understanding of the future, that's a little bit more flexible. It may even imply that time really is more plastic, maneuverable, that we can manipulate it. This is something which doesn't spring to mind immediately. I look at my watch, it's fixed. I can't make it go backwards unless I turn the little control on the side. But the way that we connect with time opens up lots and lots of opportunities for us to explore how we experience each day. Have you ever noticed that when you're really having fun, the time passes incredibly quickly? Childhood memories of uh, days that just flashed by, and yet when we're struggling, it's as if the clock stands still. It's like when you're waiting for a bus or a train, it seems to take forever. So we do have a personal interpretation of how time passes. But I mentioned at the start that we also have far more control over how we think and feel and behave than we might perhaps give ourselves credit for. In the same way that we can stop and just consider what kind of thoughts we're generating. Are we creating feelings which are perhaps not in our best interests? Are we encouraging thoughts and feelings of hate and anger, resentment, fear? Are we perhaps seeing ourselves in a less than complimentary light that denies our ability to perhaps to take care of things, to deal with the challenges that life throws up? We certainly possess that degree of choice, and with a little practice it becomes almost second nature. Being able to choose a set of feelings in the same way that you choose your clothes. Those clothes aren't an accident. Well, most of us just reaching into a cupboard and grabbing the first thing we can find. Maybe it's not a good example, but we really do have that ability to choose how we want to feel. We can take a feeling which really amplifies our sense of well-being. We can turn up the volume and think, wow, that feels good. Where did it come from? And it's not connected to the things going on around us. It's an internal decision. It's a way for us to choose, despite what's going on around us, to focus on our health and our well-being and even our happiness. The good news is, of course, it's not just good for our well-being, but it impacts on the people around us as well. We are all socially connected. So generating very positive attitudes, not to ignore the problems, not to have some kind of, what is it called, toxic positivity, but to just take this more creative attitude that perhaps we can find better ways of doing things, that we're not trapped within a set of circumstances. And that's where our perception of time can also help us, because if we are constantly referring to some of the less fortunate episodes from our past, those events become the framework for the way that we react to the present and the future. When we perhaps appreciate that in meditation we can flow, or at least our consciousness can flow into those events, neutralize them, release them, almost erase them, in a way which we don't understand, the subconscious accepts that those events are no longer relevant and will cease to allow those events to control us, to shape our thoughts and feelings and behaviors. So perhaps at least in that way, we can use this flexible approach to the passage of time to control our reaction to it, so that we can open up a fresh canvas for the future that perhaps better suits our aims, our ambitions, our ability to appreciate the gift of this life. Meditation really helps us to do that. It slows down the immediacy of our reaction. It allows us to choose our thoughts and feelings more carefully, finding ways of living which are more appropriate to our health, our well-being, and our happiness. I'd love to know what you think. It's so much fun to read your comments, especially when you email me with suggestions and ideas. I can feel a few tiny grains of snow falling, and on that slightly chilly note, I would love to wish you a wonderful week, and I'll look forward to being back with you again in a couple of days. Have a great time.